Now we're back to the tail assembly portion of the build. I'm on page 11 of the manual. Alright, so I got the bolts here soaking in alcohol to clean off any excess oil. What it says is to install these tail boom mounts onto the tail boom. Here the tail boom, there's a front and a back, obviously. So the front is where you're going to be installing this, is where the two holes are right here with the blade logo onto the side. If you somehow get it wrong, the two holes, there's two holes on the other side as well, but you'll notice the blade logo is in the wrong position, so that's the way to tell. So two holes right there, blade on the side. Fairly simple. You just insert it there in the two holes. You put a screw, Loctite the screw, and put it through there. That's what we're gonna do. Want to make sure that you get the screw right through the hole, and I'm not sure if I did on this try, so I'm gonna back it out. Insert. Make sure it's in the middle. Okay, there it goes. And the next step is to basically to fish the belt through the boom, and then mount it right here. Seems simple enough. So while I go do that, I'll pause the recording and come back. Quick update how I fish the belt through. It's really simple. I basically just drop string through the tube before basically just putting a little quick knot and just pulling it through. So I'm not sure if the camera can see it, but it's right here, just little pieces sticking out. So what I'm going to do right now is just bolt this to the frame using nuts and the bolts here, and then some frame washers, Loctite, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to stop recording and do that. That's because it's pretty straightforward. We're on page 12. So it says install the tail rod guide. Comes with this tapping screw, which I just put there right now, and it's not tight at all. So just insert it, leave it loose for now. The next one is these parts, tail boom mounts. I took off all the screws, soaked them right now, and what we're gonna do is there's two screws onto the side, and then there's two holes on the side of the boom. So we just insert it. It's almost just like the front, but this time it's sideways. There. Just find the hole. Install this top one, which is basically the squeezing screw, but right now it says loosely inserted, so I'll just keep it there for now. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this other piece. My bad. That thing wasn't in the hole, and what happens when it's not in the hole is it extends, it opens up the bracket. So you gotta be careful. Okay, so this is the next one. The next step is installing the side plates and associated tail parts. This one, two plates, and this one. For this piece, looks like it's gonna go right here. And so one thing I haven't done is position the tail belt to its final setup. So first I'm gonna make sure that it's laying flat, you know, without any twist. Usually you can just kind of peek through. Okay, so that's no twist, and you would end up twisting it counter, like, let me see if you can see that. So right now there's no twist. You would be twisting it this way. So the way that works is when you turn the rotor head clockwise, this thing turns the blade towards the rotor. So from here, I just turn right there. And that's going to be the position for it. So next step up is to attach these pieces to these plates. I'm working on the linkage set that will be attaching to this plate. So this is one thing I'm gonna really highlight is the screws to attach it. Make sure you guys have cleaned the threads and have good amount of Loctite on it, as you know, any tail parts, if you basically lose a screw in tail parts, it could be, it's almost for sure crash. So take the ball out, that will need to be Loctited as well, and then this long set screw, long bolt needs to be cleaned and Loctited as well. Yeah, this thing is an important part. We have to make sure it gets good Loctite. Careful with the washers. There it goes. So what I tend to do, there's small bearings in here. You never want to get Loctite on the bearings, so it'll bind up the tail. So I tend to do it backwards instead of putting Loctite on the thread. And what typically happens is when the thread starts going in, when the thread on the bolts start going in, the Loctite starts to squeeze back, and sometimes it'll get on the thread. So on situations like that, I put a little bit dab of Loctite onto the hole. So it basically just goes in along with the thread, and you can always, since it's through, like here I put way too much Loctite, you can just blow the Loctite right through and then wipe off the excess. So Loctite's in it, and we can comfortably tighten this down without the fear of Loctite backing out and going onto the bearings. So it's a little hard to tighten it right, so I gotta revisit that because there's not much room to grip. I'll do it right after I mount it on this plate. So the plate goes like this onto the heli, and you'll be mounting this outside right here. The way to identify it is the bigger flange is inside, that's inside of the tail case, and this is smaller. And this has kind of this is the shape, and that will mount like this. So we'll be mounting right here, I got these two screws cleaned up. It's Loctite. Okay, I think I mounted it backwards. Yes, I did. It's backwards. Okay, there it is. Oh, let me revisit and tighten this. Not too tight where you start stressing the bearings. Okay, nice and smooth. Okay. Let's see. And then install the ball link. And this one, make sure you got good amount of Loctite on there. You don't want that backing out. Put too much, but that's all right. There. So that is going to go. Yep. Like this. Okay, put that aside. Looks like we're gonna attach this, the fin right here. These two guides up in here. So pretty straightforward. So what I'll do, since it's just a bunch of screws, do it like this, and then attaching this to here and this to here. I'll go ahead and stop recording and then continue. Okay, so I got the tail box here put together. Every screw is loose right now, so it enables the box to be slid forward and back. I have these loose for now as well. And then on the manual, the next step is working on the tail parts, which actually I would say will need quite a bit of preparation, as for one, they're soaked in oil. So I would recommend really to soak every single bolt in alcohol before you Loctite and put it together. For example, this gear, it has these long thin screws that are loose. That definitely needs to be cleaned because it's covered in oil, and then Loctite. So what I'll do right now is prep all these parts first, and then I'll continue. Okay, I'm gonna focus on this part for now. So I, taken off the screws, and there's 4 bolts here. I've only taken out 3 for now. So the reason for that is it's easier to leave 1 bolt there, clean all 3, install all 3, so you don't have to because what happens when you take all 4 is it kind of separates and falls, separates apart, and you have to line things up, so on. So just a tip, make it easier, just leave 1 screw, clean up all the other screws, and now I'm gonna go ahead and put in the clean screws with Loctite, loosely, loosely put them in there because I want to tighten them all together. And the way I remember which one I left on is the one that's, basically that's how I did it, as I remembered. Well, I lined it up with the set screw hole, so I won't forget later. Okay. Okay, so now that all other 3 are there, I'm gonna go ahead and pull off this piece that I haven't cleaned and Loctited. Okay, so I'm gonna go clean this, install it, and I'll start recording again on the next step. So I'm here at the step of I'll make sure that you can see that Loctiting the screws, the tail grip screws. So I pulled it out, cleaned it in alcohol. These are one of the most important parts in the tail. You don't want this screw coming off. and applying Loctite. Lightly coat like a few threads of red. Um, just make sure it doesn't like ooze out. So you want to just do the tip, so when you basically screw it in, it just, if there's any extra, it just crawls up to the remaining threads. And I inserted this other wrench through the middle hole so it doesn't turn, and I could go ahead and get leverage for tightening it down. Be careful not to over tighten it though, because if you stress out that bolt too much, that'll break. Okay. Let's double check the other side. Okay, that's good. Smooth. Nice and smooth. All right. That does it. And I checked this part. That ball was already Loctited. Actually, a lot of Loctite. So I pulled it out. There was a ton of Loctite. I reapplied more Loctite and put it back in. Okay, so one of the things I have here is this centerpiece is loose, so I would also apply a thin amount of Loctite, red Loctite, on this as well. Although it looks like the way it rotates, it's counter, so it tightens. It should not loosen up when in flight, because the way it tightens up is along when the rotor is spinning, it goes to the tightening motion. So that's a good thing. So that shouldn't be a problem. But nevertheless, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this apart and just put a really light dab of Loctite. I never tend to repair these parts anyways if I ever do crash, and I just buy the whole thing as a full. I'm just gonna put a dab of Loctite on it and screw it back on and just kind of lightly tighten it. Alright, so while I do that, I'll come back for the pulley. This goes in between, put it between the belt. So, then get the tail shaft. There is a groove on the tail shaft, one with two grooves back to back. That would be the one that goes. That would be the groove for the tail belt pulley. One side only has one groove on the very edge. That is for this. So that goes outside. All right. So let's do this. Let's install this piece for now. And there is a back portion. There is a back for the grips. That's where the nuts go, and that is the oblong kind of shape. One side has a circle, one side is oblong. So once you install it, I think it doesn't want to flip over. No, it actually is fine. I thought the balls was gonna keep it from flipping over. So we'll install this piece first. Find the flat spot. Get Loctite on the set screw, and I'm gonna go red with this Loctite. And you want to make sure that flat spot is, you hit that flat spot on the set screw. And the way to do that is you can actually loosen it and you can rock it back and forth while it's on the flat spot. Then when you tighten down, you could feel it. Okay. Okay, it's nice and tight. We'll slide in the tail slider, and then snap them on. Here. And then insert this ball here, and then actually this would all go in. Let's see if I can. And then push this all the way through. Make sure you get it right into the bearing. There it goes. And now the only step left is to find the flat spot. Flat spot, I see it. And go ahead and get your I won't tighten it fully because I'll do the other side. There it is. I do see the flat spot. Okay. Looks good. So I think the only thing left now is to actually tighten up the tail box. So first thing I will do is tighten these posts. Tighten this one down, the pulley tensioner. Okay. And the way to check if the rotation is correct, the belt's correct. I'm rotating the main head clockwise, and this is rotating. The blades are going up into the wash, so that's the positioning for the twist on the tail belt is correct. And you can also kind of take a peek. Okay, so the only thing left is to tighten this, to pull it and give it tension and check the tension, and that should be pretty straightforward. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and adjust belt tension, which I need some leverage, so I can't do it on camera, and I'll be back. So I got the belt tension adjusted. So basically what I did is put my kind of like leverage my foot here on the floor on the back of the heli and pulled the whole assembly out while tightening it down. So I mean, I got good belt tension. And pretty much to wrap up this back the tail portion of the build is just installing the tail rod, and it's pretty straightforward. Just put the metal sleeve onto this piece right here underneath, tighten it down, and then that's pretty much it. I think the length, I'm going to check the length of the rod by making sure that when my tail servo is at 90, that this is close to 90 as well, or at least have a little bit of deflection. That's how I'm going to start out, but that's pretty simple. So that finishes the tail portion of the build, and I'll continue with final wrap up, wiring and some minor configurations.